everyone, it's Kim and welcome back to my channel. Today we are doing the mid-year book freakout tag for 2023. This is my third year, I believe, doing this tag, and I'm a little late. It's almost the end of July, but I'm finally getting around to filming it, and I'm excited to share my thoughts on this first half-ish part of the year. So let's jump in with question number one. Question number one is best book you've read so far in 2023. Alright, so the best book I've read in 2023 so far. I have two. The first one is The Foxglove King by Hannah Whitten. I absolutely loved this when I read it earlier this year. It has necromancy, there's kind of some like rebellion happening, there's some gods and goddesses and war and political and royal intrigue, and all things that make up a fantastic story, fantasy. It also has some romance in it. So I wouldn't go as far as to say it's a romantasy, but it is in there and it's good. But The Foxglove King, loved this book. And the second one that I really enjoyed was Divine Rivals by Rebecca Ross. That one I just finished today as I'm filming it. I finished that earlier and I loved it. I listened to it on audio. Thank you, NetGalley. I'm a little behind on my arcs, but I really enjoyed the audiobook that I had of it. And I'm definitely going to be purchasing a hard copy for sure. I want that one in my collection, and I cannot wait for the sequel and final book to come out in December. But that one is about two rival journalists who are vying for a position for columnist at the newspaper office that they work at, and the world around them is currently in between a war between a god and a goddess, and a magical element ties them together, and it goes from there. And once again there's war, there's a little bit of magic, there's gods and goddesses, and I'm just realizing how similar the plot devices are for these two books, and no wonder they're both two of my favorite reads of 2023, because they have kind of the same I guess bones, I guess is what I'm trying to say. I don't know exactly how to describe it because they're two completely different stories. But yeah, they both have, I guess the bare bones of the story, gods and goddesses, war, a little bit of romance. I'd say Divine Rivals is more of a maybe historical romantasy. There's a little more romance in Divine Rivals than in The Foxglove King. But both are so good. Both are beginnings of series, so if you are going to check them out, be aware of that. One is a duology, and I'm not sure how many books are going to be in The Foxglove King. I'm not sure if it's also a duology or if it's going to go past that. But those two I think are definitely currently in my top two for the year so far. Question two, best sequel you've read so far in 2023. For this one, I also have two, because I guess that's maybe my like freak out part of this, is I'm very indecisive and I've been reading too many books that I really enjoy. So the first sequel that I've been enjoying, or I enjoyed, was Hellbent by Leigh Bardugo. I will link the reading vlog I have down below for Hellbent if you want to check that out, but I enjoyed this one a little bit more than Ninth House. I thought it was much faster paced, and that probably comes from already getting to know all the different societies, and we know what's going on. We know the characters who are at play now. And this one definitely went a lot faster. I was pleasantly surprised at the uptake in speed compared to Ninth House. So if you thought Ninth House was a bit slow and you don't know if you want to pick up Hellbent, this one reads fast, and it was so good. We had a broadening of some of the minor characters that we met in Ninth House are now a more prominent part of the story, which was really fun, and I think they're going to continue to be a pretty prominent part of the story come book 3, and I'm excited to see where we end up in the next book. So Hellbent is the first sequel that I really enjoyed. And the second sequel, also the final book in the trilogy that I really enjoyed, was Southern Sun, Northern Star by Joanna Hathaway. This was the final book in the Glass Alliance series. If you are a fan of the history of World War II and the planes, you also really like once again, some wartime story, royal intrigue, political intrigue. Not so much magic here. There's no magic happening in this one, but you definitely get a good dose of romance, royal intrigue, political intrigue. And it was such a good final book, Rebellion. It tied up everything, and this series, I feel like, is so underrated. And the first book is called Dark of the West, so if you want to pick that one up, that is the first book in the series. I highly recommend this trilogy. I think y'all will enjoy it. I really think you will. And the first two have audiobooks. Unfortunately, they did not make an audiobook for this one, which, oh, the narrators for the audiobook are brilliant, and I really wish there was an audiobook for this one. So, Tortine, if you're listening, can we have an audiobook? Please? Please, please, please. But Southern Sun, Northern Star, Glass Alliance series, Joanna Hathaway. Check this series out if you haven't already. Question number 3, new release you haven't read yet but want to. For this one, there can only be one option, and that is Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. Yarros, I hope I'm saying it correctly. It's dragon riders, it's an academy setting. What is not to like about that, idea? I love it. I'm so excited for it. I actually had this on my radar, I feel, before I got super hyped, and I think, who did I see? I think it was Cassidy from Covers with Cassidy did a books about dragon reading vlog, and this was one of the books that she read, and I think that was just the very beginning of when this book was really starting to get hyped and talked about a lot here on BookTube and Book Talk, and everywhere in the book community basically is raving about this book. And so I've been pretty stoked to check it out ever since that reading vlog, so I'm ready. This is my Patreon book club fantasy pick for the next couple of months, so I'll be getting to this one sooner rather than later, and I am really excited for it. I think I'm definitely going to do a reading vlog for this one, because I feel like I'm going to enjoy it quite a lot. So, new release that I want to read but haven't yet is Fourth Wing. Question number 4 is most anticipated release for the second half of the year. So for this one, I have no other book straight from the top of my head other than The Fragile Threads of Power by V.E. Schwab. This will be the 4th book in A Darker Shade of Magic, in Red London, in the 4 Londons overall, but it's the first of a brand new trilogy. Our favorite characters are back, along with a few new ones, I'm sure, and I'm very excited to see what's going to happen in the Londons now. I'm kind of hoping that there's some, characters that may not be dead. That's my hope. There's, that's my hope. But that's all I'm going to say, because I don't want to, spoil it for anyone who hasn't read A Darker Shade of Magic trilogy. But I'm very excited to read The Fragile Threads of Power. But I am currently doing a reread of A Darker Shade of Magic. I am on book 2, and I hope to finish that, and then I will jump into The Fragile Threads of Power. And I'm very excited to return to the 4 Londons, because they're fantastic. Question number 5 is biggest disappointment. If you've watched my channel, I've mentioned this before in, I feel like, a few different live shows, a few different videos, I feel, but Project Cain, I DNF'd that probably within the first 50 pages. It wasn't what I thought it was going to be. It sounded good, it had great promise, it was kind of like a detective science fiction. It had to do with serial killer clones. They had taken the DNA of different serial killers like Jeffrey Dahmer, and that's who our main character was a clone of. And they kind of dropped them in the different situations. Some in the original situation that was the childhood of the like OG serial killer, and others were like a different setting to see what would happen and if they would grow up to be the same way. And something happens, the lab gets, basically all these clones, a lot of them escape. And you would like, I had such high hopes for this. I thought it was going to be great, like serial killer clones. There's going to be murder, mystery, detective work. I thought it was going to be really good. And the first like 50-ish pages just fell really flat. I didn't connect with any of the characters necessarily. I didn't hate them, but I didn't like them. It just felt pretty flat, and I felt for what the synopsis kind of promised, like this detective mystery with the serial killer like, I don't know, I just felt like I should have been more excited and was having a better time than I was, and it just wasn't grabbing my attention. So that was probably my biggest disappointment, because that book was on my radar for years when it first came out, and then I finally bought a copy, and it fell flat for me. Question number 6 and 7. Biggest surprise and favorite new author, debut, or new to you. I'm combining these questions because I feel like they kind of go hand in hand a little bit, because they have to do with Divine Rivals by Rebecca Ross. I loved this book, and that was probably the biggest surprise because it's YA. And this year has not been the year of YA for me. I love YA. It has been one of my favorite genres or age ranges for so long. So many great books come in the YA department. And I don't know what it is, just this last year or so hasn't been my thing. Totally fine. It's just not my reading vibe right now. But I picked up Divine Rivals because, one, I wanted something that would be like a quick read, sounded interesting, but was also on audio. And so that was one of the options I had on NetGalley. And I know I'm a little behind on my NetGalley. It's okay. This one is one of the quicker ones. But I wanted to get something off of NetGalley, and so I decided to pick up Divine Rivals, and then a whole bunch of us in my Patreon decided to read it too, so we kind of did a unofficial buddy read of Divine Rivals, and we all have been enjoying it immensely. I think pretty much everyone is almost finished, and it's so good. And I talked about it a little earlier with all the different elements that really make up the book, and I really enjoyed it, and it was surprising because it is YA. And I think the main reason for that was that it was on the older character side. We have characters pushing into their late teens, 18, 19, 20s, and I think that it bordered the line of closer to new adult, which is kind of new. It's getting more well known of an age category, and I think that was what pushed it for me, where I was totally cool with it being YA, and I didn't like keep away from it, and I really did enjoy it. And I think that was apart from, we had older characters, the drama was more adult themes, we had a more like serious romance in a wartime setting, we had grief, loss, and I think the themes and just the overall vibe of the book read older than a young adult book normally does, and that's what I think drew me in to keep reading and keep going, and it just ended up obviously being one of my favorite books so far this year as a 5-star read, which is really exciting. I can't wait for the sequel, which I think I've said like 5 times now, and it pretty much solidified Rebecca Ross as one of my new favorite authors for this year, and I cannot wait to read more from her down the road. So those are, biggest surprise was enjoying a YA book this year, giving it 5 stars, as well as my new favorite new author, new to me. Question number 8 is newest fictional crush. And I'm stretching this. I'm changing it just a little because it's not necessarily a new favorite crush. It's just like a rediscovered fictional crush, right? So that is going to be Levi from Fangirl by Rainbow Rowell. I had not read this in a very long time. The first time I read this, I read it in one day. This time around, I took my time. I was in a reading slump when I grabbed this book, and one, it just brought back all the memories of being so into fandom, and like, it just brought back so many good memories and made me so hyped, and I love that energy of this book. But Levi, the sweetest guy, would be there for you if you need him in an emergency, works at Starbucks, so you know there's always someone to bring you a coffee. Very important. Coffee, gotta have that on the menu. And his overall personality is just so warm and inviting, and I completely really forgot that about Levi until I reread this book. So, refound fictional crush in Levi from Fangirl. Question number 9 is newest favorite character. So for this, we have Thimble the Ratican from Legends and Lattes. Thimble is the very quiet character. He ends up being a part of the team at the cafe, and he's just adorable and quiet, and I just love him. I just love him, and he's so adorable. And I think I have one thing marked in here. Do I have it? Where is it? Okay, yeah, it's this. I'm gonna read one line, one little section from the book, just so you can see how adorable he is. It's page 108, and it says, while the dough rose, he approached with a nervous twitch of whiskers and whispered, "Latte. Thimble, I'll keep a fresh cup in front of you all day if you want." His whole body wriggled with pleasure. He's so excited over just, getting those, free lattes all day long. And, that's a little further into when you meet him for the first time. And I don't know. I just love him so much. And I hope that there's some, I know we're getting a prequel story, but I would love to have a sequel, or maybe even just a side story where we get to know Thimble's history a little bit more. I think that would be really fun and really cute. So, Thimble from Legends and Lattes by Travis Baldree. Question number 10 is a book that made you cry. I'm pretty sure I've cried in some fashion every time I've read this book. This will be the third time I have read this, and that is Big Magic. Creative Living Beyond Fear by Elizabeth Gilbert. Some of the lessons, some of the tips and tricks in her stories, they just hit home. They really hit on some of the struggles of being creative, but living with that fear of creating and that fear of failure, and that you have in there when it comes to trying to have a creative career in some fashion. And some of the moments just get a little too real, and yeah, so I definitely have cried while reading this book multiple times, but it is a fantastic book. It's one of those, you kind of take what you need from it kind of things. Not everything, of course, is going to resonate with everyone, but there's definitely some good tips in here and some good stories, some really fantastic magical stories that I think everyone should give a go on at least once. So, Big Magic definitely made me cry. Question number 11 is book that made you happy. I am bringing this one back, and it is Fangirl by Rainbow Rowell. Like I said, I read this in 24 hours the first time. Actually, it was probably more 6 or 7 hours. And I really wanted to read it again because, one, it is a fave book of mine, and I hadn't reread it yet, and I was in a reading slump. And that is one of my ways to get out of a reading slump, is to reread a favorite book. So I thought, let's read Fangirl, let's bring back those memories of fandom and conventions and fan fiction and this book is just really cute, and it really is for the fangirl, fanboy in all of us. Like, there's no way to be, like, there's some sad moments, of course, like, there's some drama, there's some happy moments, there's some sad moments, it takes place we have college age characters, and so we have some drama. It does deal with some college themes of, like, drinking, and we have some, like, parent separation kind of themes as well, and how that goes for the girls. But overall, it's just a really cute, fun read, and if you've ever been a part of fandom or anything for a book, for a movie, any of that, I highly recommend giving this a read. I think you'll really like it. Question number 12, most beautiful book you've bought so far this year or received. So I haven't bought I've bought some books, but not too many of them have been, like, really fancy or anything. But I think my favorite, like, special edition from a book box has to be Witch King by Martha Wells. I love this main cover, but really, let's take off the dust jacket, because that is where, for me, the beauty starts. If you don't know, this is the first video you're seeing of me. I love the color purple. I am a purple person, and this entire book's purple and gold. Yeah, I love it. We got some stenciled edges that are purple, and I love it. We do have some really gorgeous artwork in here as well. Stunning, but, like, everything is so purple and blue and cool tones, and I love it. So that is probably my most beautiful book that I have bought recently, is Witch King by Martha Wells, and I cannot wait to read this one. Finally, question 13, what books do you need to read by the end of the year? So for me, there's two books in particular that I want to focus on reading by the end of the year, and that is finishing off the first trilogy of Mistborn by Brandon Sanderson, so The Well of Ascension and The Hero of Ages. I read Mistborn a few months ago now and really, really enjoyed it, and my hold on the audiobook for The Well of Ascension just came in from Libby, and I'm very excited to dive into this one again as well. So these two are my main goal for the end of the year. And that's it for the mid-year book freakout tag for 2023. I don't feel like I'm freaking out that much. I think I'm more on the, like, good freak out, like, I'm super excited, and that's where I feel I'm at. I'm not worried for this year for reading. I just did a huge new project for my TBR, which I think I'm going to do a different video for and tell you all about that, and so I'm very excited for reading right now. I'm not stressed, I'm not freaking out in a bad way, I'm freaking out in a good way, and I cannot wait to see what the rest of 2023 has in store for what books I'm gonna like, what books I'm not gonna like, and yeah, so I'm very excited for what's to come for the rest of 2023. I hope you all enjoyed this video, and if you did, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. It lets me know that you're liking the content, it lets YouTube know that you're liking this video and want to see more, and if you do want to see more of my face on your feed, if you're brand new to my channel, hit subscribe, join the little book fam that we have going on here on this channel, and I look forward to hanging out with you all very soon in another video. So until then, take care and happy reading, everyone. Bye!